Welcome everybody to a new podcast here with LucifeRApollo. Today we're going to talk about immortality. The title is The Task for Immortality. And we're here with our friends from Landing Pad again for the second podcast. Throughout history, there has been the wish of mankind, to live forever, to have unlimited amount of time and life to experience and new things. And yet, this to this point has been an impossible thing, nothing but a dream. We have individuals in the past like Genghis Khan who conquered the world of his time and who seeked immortality. But yet, despite his power and whatever he was and he accomplished, he could not acquire that gift. Perhaps it was not for him to have it. It was not meant for him to have it. We also have the Emperor of Qin Shi Huang, who lived between 221 and 210 BCE from the Qin dynasty. He was one of the emperors that helped build the Wall of China and unify the whole of China for a short time. He sought help from magicians and alchemists of that time, to create some type of a drink that he could allow him to live forever. They gave him mercury, maybe that killed him. So the irony is that through seeking immortality, he actually probably got killed from the mercury. And then we have Gilgamesh, who after seeing his friend die, he didn't want to meet the same fate, and so he went in search of immortality, eternal life. And despite his long and arduous journey, he could not find the key to this possibility. I think we're getting closer to reaching, if not eternal life, at least life extension with the invention of artificial intelligence, quantum computers. We might be able to use them to acquire all the pieces of the puzzle that are required to achieve this task. I think this is why it's important to talk about this through this podcast, to build a philosophy for the potentiality of extending life. So those that may manage to have this gift in the future can look back and hear us talking about this and maybe use that to help them in their own journey. Maybe some of us will experience that. You never know. And anyway, so that was my little introduction. So guys, my first question: would you like to live forever? Let's start with Blobas.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, Blobas.
Hello.
What do you think about eternal life or immortality?
Reincarnation, that might be possible and it sucks. I'm just taking your standpoint. That's all I'm gonna do, just take your standpoint.
But would you like to live forever in the physical body that you have?
I've heard from somebody that's really bad and awful experience and it's better if everybody dies, so I'm taking that standpoint.
Okay. What do you think about this, Carlos? Would you like to live forever?
No, I would not. I've thought about this before. I feel like there's a reason that death exists, which is like to renew the consciousness of like the species and like set it through different like points of purification. So it's like the reason we can't remember our past incarnations is so that we can change things in our next incarnations. But beyond that, the other reason I don't think I'd want to is because I think that the afterlife and the other like realms of existence also have things to offer. And I think if I was in this realm of existence permanently, I think I would be doing myself a disservice. Because like I have some memories of where I was before I came here, and it's like I wouldn't want to be stuck here forever.
But what if you had, with immortality, there's really no limit into what you can do, which means that if you live forever, you can ascend or ascend out of this dimensional state into higher dimensional states, you know? It would be the
Oh
same
yeah,
as
that's
dying.
something different. That's definitely different than like the vampire immortality kind of thing. Like that would be different. That would give me a different answer.
I mean,
But if it's like
anything.
the strict vampire immortality where it's just like you're, you know, eternally young, probably not.
No, the immortality I'm talking about is more like a human immortality where you just don't age and you don't die, you don't decay, you just live forever as a young person, let's say 20, 30 years old. So it means, you know, with infinite amount of time, you have the possibility to achieve anything, you know, learn anything. So ascending out of the physical realm with immortality is possible, and reaching higher dimensions like universes. No, Carlos?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that's the goal of most extant things, whether they know it or not, is to find a form of existence in which, you know,
Okay.
like the whole idea of the Philosopher's Stone being for immortality, it's talking about the immortality of the soul, not really of the body. So it's talking about the soul's immortality, which is different than the body's immortality. So I think that's the difference that we're kind of like on right now.
Yeah. Okay. Lake? Lake? Lakey? Lake? He's the one I want to talk because he knows a lot about history.
Maybe he's away from his keyboard. Come back to him, maybe.
Okay, we come back to him. Mr. Novari, would you like to live forever?
Probably not. Yeah, it does feel like death is a necessary part of life, and since I don't really know what is going to happen afterwards, I would kind of like to see. But if you could offer me 100 years of perfect health, I would take that.
What if you had perfect health, you never age beyond 30 years, and you could live as long as you like? Wouldn't you like to live 1,000 years? I mean, why limit yourself with the current 100-year lifespans that people have?
Okay, if I could back out of it at any time, sure, I would take immortality. But if it was just yes or no, I would say no.
Yeah, I think immortality will be a heavy burden to carry when you
That's
cannot
actually a really
escape.
good point, though, that he brings up, is that is it an immortality that you can decide at some point, like, okay, I don't want to live anymore, or is it that you're immortal and you have no choice but to live? You
It is an
know?
immortality where you can live if you choose. I don't think a full 100% immortality is possible as long as you are in a flesh body. So it will be like you will be remain young, healthy, as long as you like, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, and in the moment you want, as long as you destroy your body, you can live. Would you guys like that?
I think I'd take that deal.
Yeah, I would take it. Like, if it was an immortality that it was just, you know,
Yeah.
when you want to die, you can die. Probably. Though I wonder, maybe it would make you complacent. Maybe it would take the meaning away from daily tasks and, like, you know, love and all of the things that make life poignant. It might make it all kind of just blah, like you don't really care.
Hmm.
I think it absolutely would do that. And I think more than that, instead of living on like a daily cycle, you'd live on like a century, millennium cycle, where it's like you do this once every 1,000 years, or you know, if you were even able to survive, like assuming the Big Bang and the Big Crunch theory is actually accurate, if you were even able to survive the universe collapsing in on itself and being reborn again, you know, eventually that would be your new way of measuring time, I guess. Whenever the universe died and was reborn, that would be like day and night.
So you see the
Like
potential
everything
on
would be so much more
immortality, no?
massive. Yeah,
You
yeah,
see,
yeah.
you will not deny, think of everything you can achieve. I mean, you can research or become, research anything you like and spend 100 years, 200 years. There's no more limitations in what you can achieve. That's what I don't understand why people deny the immense possibilities of living 500 years, 1,000 years. Why, I think we're reaching that point where we eventually going to reach the capacity to live forever if we don't destroy ourselves. It would be a wonderful thing to be 500 years and, you have perfected yourself in many ways, from science to technology to philosophy to your humanity. Imagine the type of human being that you can perfect yourself at 1,000 years.
I have another point though. What would you
Yeah.
do about having kids and too many kids that never die? Like, what would you do
I'm
about
gonna
that?
I'm gonna
Your
reach
kids
that.
would also live.
Yeah, I'm gonna reach that question eventually, but my answer will be is that you have to control populations, as nobody is aging and dying. Then you cannot keep breeding indefinitely. You will
Yeah,
overwhelm.
you have to set like a cap, some kind of number where you'd be like, all right, this is where we just stop making kids.
Exactly. Now this can be changed if we begin expanding into the solar system with immortality. We have the capacity to keep hoarding knowledge, information, and evolve technology even farther than we can do today. So eventually we can move to Mars, Saturn, and all those different planets, terraforming, and you can keep breathing there. And
Have
as
you
soon as
seen how the Earth is terraformed recently?
mhm.
Bombs.
So anyway, Balki, what do you think about? Would you like to live forever?
Well, I think that we already are immortal, like spiritually, but
Hmm.
as far as the body goes, and I guess there's two different kinds. There would be like technological immortality, and then there would be some sort of mystical, occultic kind of immortality. And so I guess I would agree with the others. Like if it was like if there's an option to opt out and it doesn't like trap my soul forever here, which is like a lot of the things that I've read about, some of the mythical elements of immortality is that there's lots of consequences.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would do it. I'm really interested in like the technological pathway towards it. Like they're working on different types of like nanotechnology and stuff that you
I
could
do
use.
have I do have an answer for
Um,
that. I actually read this book called The End of Aging, and basically, like, what causes aging is the telomeres at the end of your DNA fray more and more as you get older. If you could prevent that through some kind of genetic engineering, like, people wouldn't age.
yeah, telomeres, and then also something called extracellular junk. Like, your cells put off like not radioactive, but oxidative,
Yeah, I was gonna say
waste
I thought it had
basically.
oxygen. Sorry, I was gonna say
Yeah,
I
and
thought
so
it was related to oxygen.
if you genetically engineered somebody to have like indestructible telomere caps, and then you had some sort of technology to scavenge for oxidative free radicals, then you would not age and you would just sort of vacillate between whatever, 20, 30 years old or something.
So,
So, yeah, I
mhm.
feel like that would be fun, but absolute like immortality where your soul is bound to this dimension forever, that to me would be a punishment
Okay.
because there's lots of other places. There's higher places, there's lower places.
So,
And I think that basically the soul is just going on a journey between all of these dimensions and trying to like reunite with the source basically. And we're just cycling through, right?
mhm.
So, yeah, if you get trapped in a lower dimension like this, that would be hell basically.
But Valky, I
That,
mean, given all the time of infinity, don't you think you'd be able to like develop techniques to pass back and forth, or travel anywhere you want and anywhere?
Well,
that's
I mean,
basically
yeah,
what I'm
you
maybe,
might
saying.
I
be able to
don't
but
figure that
that's
out.
some of the,
That's basically
but
what I'm
that's some of
saying. When you have
I don't
unlimited
think it's the
time,
same. I literally don't think it's the same. Like people that have done past life regression or pre-birth regression or like, hypnosis to like, what other realms are like. It's like your existence itself like has existed like in other realms, not just out of body experiences. Out of body experiences where you project yourself to like different dimensions. Like, here's the thing, it's like you talk about spending thousands of years trying to learn how to ascend. Literally, all you do is die and you change dimensions. Like, there's a reason that we die. You know what I mean? Like,
what if
sitting here
the
for thousands of years, like trying to project yourself into another dimension is like missing the point. Like, the
that's
whole point
that.
of being
what
Yeah.
alive
if what
is
if
to
the
learn things here
possibility
and use that in
what
order
if the
to project yourself.
possibility what if the possibility of either dying or not dying will allow you in the same path? You can just transmute your body into energy and not have to die, and ascend without the process of that. I don't think it's necessary. So with an
But I
unlimited
think
time, yeah.
dying is a good thing. Changing forms is a good thing. Like, I
Well,
think people demonize death, but like, death causes change and growth. Think about it, Lucy Soul. Like, you are never gonna change into a different type of person if you spend 2,000 years just cementing the person that you are more and more and more. Like,
You
you're
know,
never gonna grow.
throughout history, I mean, almost the whole human history, everybody has died, dying, dying, dying. We have never really had experience of eternal life, or at least very long spans of life. I think it would be a marvelous situation if we could gain that
Here's another
experience.
thing, though,
yeah.
Mhm.
is
Well,
like,
what about just extended life? Because they talk
extended life.
about in the
Yeah, I don't think
Bible how
there's
people
anything
used to
wrong with
live
that.
longer. Like, what if we
Mhm.
just found a way to like extend our lives to like 300 years and stay young and
I think that's
would
And
great.
like
that's
I
kind
think that'd be
viable.
of
awesome. But like, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Is like, I think literally we are programmed to die because it's a good thing for the species as a whole. If like people are renewed in and out, it doesn't mean that like your sentience as a existent thing like starts from square one every time, you know what I mean, you incarnate into something else. No, your soul actually keeps information from incarnation to incarnation. But like beyond just you as an individual, like the reason death exists is because as a species and as an experiencer in this realm, if you have no threat, no death looming over you, no like there's no substance to your experience anymore.
Mhm.
So you don't learn anything as a being.
Okay. Lake, I know you want to talk. Lake, Lakey, Lake. He's asking, he wants to talk, and now he's.
You might have walked away from the keyboard again.
All right. Well, let's move with to Montala. Montala, would you like to live forever, Montala? Montala.
Maybe also AFK.
Well, let's go with the guy above this. I always forget his name. The sign guy. Um, how do you call him? How do you call the sign?
Oh, you can
Question
call
mark.
me Mark.
Question mark. Question mark.
You can also tell me if my mic is too bad. I've forgotten my headset. Um, what I was going to expand upon on what Kaylis was saying is
Uh,
that I I think the time limit of a single lifespan is important to sort of, you have 60 or 80 years to learn the lessons you need to learn in this lifetime in this form.
mhm.
And I think extending that beyond a unnatural limit uh, would only like hinder your spiritual growth in such a way that you can't. There isn't the impending sense of death and time limits
But
to
we
learn the
constantly
lessons.
we constantly fighting nature. And for example, we are flying, we are driving in cars, we have computers, we wear clothes. All this is not natural. I think
I
to
agree.
so enhancing lifespans it will be just, I mean, nature is just there, a barrier where it contains us as long as we don't have the knowledge to supersede it. But nature is not the true reality. We can make the reality with our own wish and desire and whatever fits us. That's what I think. So if enhancing lifespans is within our capacity, I think we should do. Nature should not restrain us from what is right or what is wrong. We should choose that.
I think
Uh,
the technology is very close to be able to extend life to extreme measures, but death being the great equalizer and the great shut-off point and transformation of the soul into a different body using
mhm.
reincarnation theories. Um, I don't want to sound too doom and gloom, but it is a good thing um, to sort of have that hard reset for the progress of the soul.
I think.
All right, I want to play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Uh, just have you guys considered the idea like there are creatures on the planet that live less than 1 day long. They don't even get to experience like day and night. Like there's an entire pattern that they can't even comprehend because they don't live long enough.
But how do you know that their experience of time isn't different from ours and their one
It, it,
day feels
it
like
might be, but what I'm saying is if we were able to extend our lives, we'd be able to become aware of so many more patterns in the universe. Like there are so many more things that, just there are so many things that within a 75, 80-year life cycle that just never come about, that we'd never get to learn about or experience or any of that.
I
So, I
agree.
mean, if you manage to extend life or, create immortality somehow, it would mess with up like the day-to-day cycle, I think. And I know that's what like a lot of people are thinking about to some degree, that it's going to mess up what are you going to do day to day? How's your life going to be like that? Are you still going to shower? Are you going to care? But it's going to open up an entire new avenue of larger cycles and larger patterns to be able to witness. We'll be able to witness parts of the fractal that we would never be able to experience in a normal human lifetime, and possibly put more pieces together and understand the universe way better than we ever could without doing this.
I
And
guess
I'm
the
just playing
reason
devil's
that my
advocate here. I
opinion
agree. I,
is
I
different
agree with you
on
guys
this
too. I agree with you
is
guys too about the soul needing to reset and all this stuff. But I
I
can see the
have
possibility.
memories of before I was born, and there already are realms out there where literally like existence like is a like you create things like with your like a lucid dream but in real life. Those things already exist. Why would you spend tens of thousands of years trying to recreate a perfect system? This system's already perfect. Like, yes, like if you want to live for tens of thousands of years, I have nothing against people doing that in general. It's just personally the reason I wouldn't want to is because I have been in those other realms, and let me just be frank, they're better than this one.
I don't doubt you on that at all either. I'm just saying that there are definitely possibilities of learning things and growing in ways that we never could have imagined without doing this.
I
But I
agree.
agree with you too. I don't know where to really go on it. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
I think Apache is correct. It will open avenues and possibilities unimaginable at this moment. Because now you have thousands of years of life where you're able to discover yourself and the universe and reality. Now, why worry about time? If we are infinite beings, what does it matter if we spend a million years in this body? It's just a game, an adventure. So, yeah, I agree with Professional Patch. He say very intelligent things. We
I
will,
think.
hello?
Sorry, I was
Yeah.
just going to say that I believe that our time limit and our perception of time within that life's average lifespan is the way it should be for us to
Mhm.
learn our lessons and our sliver of time that we're privy to is the correct amount in order to understand the patterns of the universe in this stage of our spiritual soul progression.
What if you guys could, whoever wanted to stay here as long as they want, they could, and those which think that death is good, they could go whenever they choose to. That way, I think that would be the best system, not to force everybody to live forever, because that would create problems. Only those people that seek that experience, should be allowed. I think in the future, as we advance in technology and scientific understanding, the possibility of immortality or some degree of immortality will be achieved. And so we should
I have
allow,
another, like,
yeah.
what if you have a criminal or someone that's like, you know what I mean, in jail, or like a murderer? Are they just gonna live forever too? Or is it a system where like only some people can?
Well, depends on the crime, I imagine, and if what is determined as punishment. If the person has
Well,
continuous yeah.
what kind of immortality are we talking about here? Are we talking about people being able to like not starve to death and not die from injury, or are we just talking about extending lifetime? Because you can always stick somebody in a prison and starve them if they're an asshole and they'll die.
Yeah, I would think more like eternal life, but to a
But
degree,
will they really
yeah.
die?
You can still
Well, I don't know.
die.
That's what I'm asking. Like, what kind of immortality are we talking about?
You
Are we talking about
basically,
people that are like Superman and immortal? And
as long as you maintain the physical vessel, you can continue living, but you can still be fragile to. If you destroy your body, you can die. Terrible accident, you can still die, but as long as you maintain your body, the body will keep healthy forever. Keep just its youth over and over, renewing itself. So we're talking about, to a degree, not full immortality, but eternal life. Will that be more accurate? What I'm asking? You know what
yeah,
I
I don't know.
mean? Not. I mean, full immortality will be a punishment because you cannot live. Let's say the conditions of your environment become horrible, and you want to live.
Did you
So I
guys
don't.
ever see that old Family Guy where Death breaks his leg and nobody can die and they're all shooting each other with pistols and they're fine?
Well, that's what I'm saying. A lot can get
I
very
did see
brutal.
that one. Yeah.
I love that one. Classic.
Old Family Guy was so good.
Oh yeah.
All right, Wantala. So I want to hear what you have to say. Would you like to live forever?
Well, I mean, I guess if they developed, like you said, like a scientific, I believe they call it like a biological immortality, like you're saying, yeah, I'd take a crack at it. I don't have an obsession with being immortal. I think that if you're alive, you should try to, take a crack at being alive. Go for the high score, being alive. So yeah, if you live in a time where science develops that, and I'm sure they would. You mentioned animals that only live for a microsecond, but there's the other side of that. There's a species of jellyfish that's biologically immortal. They reach a certain age of their maturity, and then they begin to age backwards, and then they just go back and forth. Definitely until something, which is usually the case. And I think there's a few other things that are nothing else capable of aging in reverse, but things, they reach a certain point and they don't reach a point of an elderly state. So I'm sure science at some point could develop that far. And then if you talk about living into these huge epochs of technological progress, something like 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 1,000,000 years in the future, who can say? Nobody and I have talked about this before. The space jellyfish god of either people that have developed genetic engineering or some hypothetical creature that evolves in the cosmos, because it would just get that far with developing technology, developing genetic engineering. You just find a way to do it. And we can see with exploring the cosmos, because you guys brought that up with, if you do achieve immortality, what happens with reproduction? Because we'll reach a point where there is just physically no more room or resources for more people, and you'd have to expand into the cosmos. And you would have space jellyfish monsters expanding into the cosmos, and then either you would reach this energy state, or who knows? We could talk about this for hours. It's all hypothetical science.
The universe, to what we understand at this point, is infinite. So it seems like the universe is meant to be there for us when we reach the capacity to live forever. We will have unlimited amount of time, unlimited space to actually learn and discover ourselves and the cosmos. And we could literally span forever. And some of us may not even remain on the physical form. We eventually will ascend. When you reach thousands of years of life, you will have the capacity to free yourself from your body and go to the higher dimensions or return here if you like. I think immortality will open those doors. So the universe is waiting for us to achieve that task. To extend our lives so we can understand it. What do you think, Montella?
Yeah, absolutely. I said, like I said, I think if humanity doesn't do it, then something else somewhere in the cosmos will do that. Kind of like I talked about with like the basilisk.
They might
Eventually.
have already.
Yeah, exactly. It might already have. It just hasn't got to
Statistically,
us
with
yet.
an infinite universe and all the time in the world, that's bound to have happened at some point if it's possible.
Yeah, somewhere out there, and just it hasn't bumped into us just by law of probability.
Or maybe it's those jellyfish. Maybe they're actually a super advanced species, like Echo the dolphin predicted. They're a super advanced species from space, and they just crash landed in the past, and they've already obtained immortality.
I don't feel like
I think they said something like that with octopus, don't they? They have weird DNA that's unique to other animals on Earth. It's like, oh, maybe they got infected with an alien virus or something. I've heard that, like, in actual science, not just like History of China, Ancient Aliens type stuff, but like actual real scientists have like, oh, there's something really weird going on with cephalopod DNA.
You know what? And that's entirely what Echo the Dolphin for Sega Genesis is fucking about. It's insane. I swear to God, that's the big plot twist at the end. Fucking alien
Really?
travels back in time and becomes the genetic, progenitor for the entire cephalopod race.
Oh, snap.
I don't think we can be truly advanced if we live 75, 80 years and without cancer. As long as we don't achieve this faculty of extending our lives, we're still animals. We're still not really developing as a civilization. So an aspect of evolution, I think, is the capacity for us to extend our lives to hundreds of years. That's where I think we should go. We will. We will. We will.
But yeah, the idea is that this giant, massive space predator goes back in time, and when it gets back in time, it's not so badass anymore because everything back then was also gigantic and badass. So they beat it down and turned it into cephalopods over time.
We will. Would you like to live forever?
No.
Why not?
Because it will be fucking boring at some point, I mean, I would like to live 1,000 years, maybe 100,000 years, but at some point I will want to just reset everything,
Mm-hmm. But what if the limit
of
life?
But you feel like that. You feel like that now. There are days where you wake up and you feel like you just want to reset everything. How do you know that if you just lasted that one more day or that one more 100 years or something, you wouldn't change your attitude and switch back around?
I want to live 1,000 years. I don't want to reset anything right now. Maybe when I will reach 999 years, I will think to live another 1,000 years. But at some point, it will get boring,
But
yeah, it might get more interesting. You'll be able to see things other people will never get to see.
Yeah, so
with infinite amount of time, you have infinite possibilities. We will. What you perceive right now.
Let's suppose for just 1 minute that death is life on the other side. So it's life forever, as you say. Thing is, as long as you have a perpetual awareness, it's immortality for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't reset from time to time, you can imagine how to put it. Your mind, which is not even your mind, but let's say your mind will be so fucking clogged at some point,
Yeah, that's what we see.
Plus, you will have to live with the same identity for how long? Maybe I want
to change your identity.
If
you could move to a new place and get a new life.
Let me finish.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Thank you. So, if I would have at least the possibility to be aware in more than just one life, as we live in many alternative lives in the same moment, if I would have the possibility to be aware in at least 10 lives, I will probably be more entertained. But living with just one identity in one life for, I don't know, forever, as you say, at some point it will become boring for
But
me.
remember, as you live longer and longer, you learn more and more. You can actualize your entity and refresh yourself.
It
You're not
doesn't matter.
limited.
At some,
Mhm.
at some point, I will live with a constant nostalgia to go back in the year 1980, for example, and I have no fucking possibility. So, no.
Okay.
I mean, you guys can live forever as long as you want.
That's what I'm saying.
Forever.
That people
Never.
should. The best thing is to allow people to have that choice to die or to live forever. That's the way we can keep a peaceful world.
Well, what if time is cyclical and you actually get to go back around and experience the 80s again? Like the universe dies and, humanity happens again and you get to experience the 80s a second time, Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, is that living forever?
Could be.
Is that
Wait,
I
what if
mean,
what if you can live forever, but then you get stuck in a black hole?
But that's what we're talking
you're
about.
stuck in a black hole anyway, so what the fuck?
That's what we're talking about.
You're so optimistic.
That's what we're talking about. The degree
No, I like it.
of immortality, where you can still die if the
You know,
situation gets bad.
the biggest fun that can be anywhere, the biggest party, the biggest joy is in a fucking black hole. So let's just enjoy it as it is.
Eternal Pismo, would you like to live forever? Eternal Pismo? Eternal Pismo? All right, let's try Lake one last time. Last call before
Oh
we
wait,
move
are
to
you
our.
talking to me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I don't want to live forever. I don't even want to be in an afterlife. Fuck this shit. Existence is a mistake.
So you basically want to cease to exist after that. You just don't want to become aware any longer.
Return to the void.
Okay. Lake, last call. So
Okay, I'm here. I'm here this time around. Sorry, had
so
some
talk to
things
me
going
about
on.
the history of immortality or eternal life. Besides Gilgamesh,
Well,
and
as an immortal myself,
mhm.
kind of really entertaining, but it's a lot of work. I can certainly confirm it's a lot of work. You have to put together the effort of many people, and you have to put together the desire of many people for an archetype to to occur. So most people don't have the possibility of being seriously immortal, because it's not worth their while. They're just here for the fun. And if you want to do something worthwhile, it always ends up with a sense of purpose, because you have to get a group of souls to agree to take a certain form over and over and over. For example, I just posted something about the Roman emperor, and that's a famous one, and all the inscriptions say, the god Augustus, the god Caesar, the god emperor. And that's the kind of thing you're looking for. I mean, if you're going to be in world, you're going to be the god emperor. And the thing you mentioned about kids is part of it, because as soon as your body, like your astral body, gets into the immortality configuration, you can no longer have kids, because they die real easy, because kids depend on their parents' energy. And so if your energy is all spoken for and it's all self-contained, it is just never going to happen again. There are tricks, there are workarounds, but your life changes.
So what would be your answer? Would you like to live forever? You say you're living forever, but how
I
would
am
you answer
actually
that?
living forever. Yeah, it's been a while.
Okay. Any
And
historical figures that you want to mention about that wanted to live forever?
Oh, just a bunch. I mean, I can talk about my own like life track, but the point is that it's all about the use of your energy and what you're directing it towards. And
Yeah.
yeah, and it can have awesome power over other people, or it can just retreat and just go back into the shadows and be a nobody and influence the world like that.
Do you
But
think
yeah,
that?
there are just so
Do you
many
think that no?
barriers.
Do you think that nobody is seeking immortality?
Well, I've explained it to you several times. So the two stories or the three stories are all the same story. And the thing is about perception. That the reason that you can't be incarnated as 10 people at the same time or whatever is that you have to focus on what you're doing, on what your body, your location, your time, your person is achieving. And there are actually a lot of group souls that are like divided into 10 people or 100 people or 1,000,000 people. And you're all having the same experience at the same time. You're just not all aware of it. And then you go to a party and you all meet, and it gets strange sometimes. And that's where legends of evil twins and doppelgangers come up with, because there are people living a very similar life to yours.
Does mortality enter when you reproduce? Could non-reproducing be a path to
Immortality.
immortality?
No, that's what I was just telling you, that children depend on their parents' energy. So I've never had children, but I know people close to me that have had children, and they have a strange link to me, but there were always dreams involved and witchcraft and so on. So there are workarounds. But the whole, normal life stops. If you're the Count of Saint Germain or Cagliostro or somebody, nobody is ever going to have a casual, normal, typical relationship with you. It's all going to be strange.
Yeah. All right. Raphael, would you like to answer the question? Would you like
What's
to
this
live
question?
forever? Would you like to live forever?
Yes, I think I have what it takes to live forever, and I think that each time there are going to be challenges. Like, I think I'm going to live forever, but it's not going to be the kind of heaven that people imagine it to be. Like, there's going to be a lot of chaos and periods of peace, and yeah, but I think I can take it.
Okay.
And I'm in for the ride.
So before we move on to the next question, does anybody else wants to add any comment about what we just talked?
I will add something to what Lake said. He was talking about how we needed to have our attention focused in our singular body and stuff. That ties back into AI theory. There's a lot of people that have theorized for a very long time that unless an AI is given a physical body with limitations and stuff, it won't be able to think on the same level as a human being.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it.
And by the same token, they probably wouldn't like to, because being a computer in the web is just so much more engaging and easy and less responsibility.
Let's extend on the question. I don't know, we kind of mentioned a little bit about immortality being a gift or a burden. So, would you see mortality as a burden or a gift, Blobaso? Blobaso?
In which context? With which kind of reality? Which context?
This context, the life we are actually now here, would you see it as a burden or a gift? Let's say you were granted immortality now.
So my body freezes at this age and I live like this age forever.
You basically will never grow older than 30 years old, 33 years old, like Jesus. You will always remain at 33 years old. Your body will renew and maintain its youth forever, as long as you like. Would you see that as a
But your
burden?
dick will fall off and you'll become smooth down there like a Ken doll.
I am waiting to hear way too heavy engines and explosions, so I'm busy. Sorry, I have no answer.
Okay. Carlos?
Oh, sorry. What was that?
Do you see immortality as a burden or a gift?
It could be both. Like, honestly, like if I had a 300-year lifespan and I didn't age, I think that would be fine. But if it was like eternal, I think that would be a burden for sure.
So you're scared of eternity. You're scared of maintaining that being you are eternally. You feel like it will be.
It's not so much that I'm scared as it is that I feel like my evolution as a being would be very, very stagnant.
But like we've been talking about, the longer you live, the more you learn, the more you can access different experiences. So you will not be the same person that you are at 70 years as you are 1,000 years. Think of the Kylos that is 1,000 years old. What type of human being and entity would you be? Can you imagine that?
I definitely see what you're saying. It's not like, okay, there's a part of me that would be like, oh, that would be cool. You know what I mean? But there's another part of me, just the intuitive part of me, that just, because I feel like I have some affiliations and memories from worlds beyond this world, it's like, it's not just the patterns of this universe. People think that, but it's literally other dimensions and other, like, realms of existence itself that you will not get to experience here, because this is a 3D world. It is like, you can astral project into other dimensions, sure, but you'll never actually be a part of those dimensions as a 3D being. It just doesn't happen. It's programmed in. Like, if you want to transverse to a different dimensionality, death is where you do that. That's where your soul can actually, your consciousness, like the actual substance of your consciousness, whatever it is, can transport itself to a different kind of reality.
What if you find a way to, like, imitate death for a limited period of time to allow yourself to go to these places, to put yourself in, like, some kind of cryostasis or something, to go to these places and do these things and come back and still be alive?
Okay.
Like, whenever you decided to.
I could actually tell you about that one.
Okay.
Yeah, because those
we might reach a point technologically where we can, like, imitate death in that way to get the same results. We don't know. It could be possible.
Well, why would you do that when there's already a perfectly good system in place that's superior to whatever humanity could invent?
I mean, sometimes we make things that are kind of cool and actually better. Like, walking's great, but man, there's a lot of places I'd rather drive to. And, planes and the internet we're communicating with right now. There's a lot of advancements that, yeah, they're unnatural, but there are advancements in some way.
I'm not talking really about advancements, but it's like, okay, I watched this thing recently on what 4D objects look like on a 3D plane, right? So it's like, as a 3D being, you can project, probably with computers, with simulations, what a 4D object would look like on a 3D plane. However, you will never, ever, 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 ever see the full dimensions of that object unless you become a 4D being, which is not something that as a biological 3D organism you can actually do.
Yeah, but you have to consider, people used to say that we would never be able to communicate with people across the planet instantly, that we would never be able to, all this stuff.
Instead of inventing a bunch of technology, you can just die and go to a different dimension. Like, you don't have to invent the technology.
You could, but then you could come back here. You could go there and then come back here whenever you wanted and still be you if you wanted to be.
So the topic for today was supposed to be immortality. The thing that was stuck into my mind all day was that people who want to live forever should be shot on the spot, and people that want to die should be forced to live forever.
That's actually a point.
Okay, I actually like to.
Hang on, guys. I think there's something we haven't considered here. We're talking about an eternity of chicken tenders. Does that change anybody's answer?
Okay,
that is
so. We would like to. Okay.
Okay, go ahead, and then we go move to Dylan.
Okay, first of all, Dylan, could you turn off your camera? It's just cropping up everywhere.
Turn off my camera?
Yeah, I have the little video screen popping up. Anyway.
Wait,
No,
why do I have to turn my camera off?
Leave Dylan alone.
okay. So, no, what you were saying about going to other dimensions has to do with planets. So if you ever saw the movie Avatar, and there's some people that get in a pod and they send their consciousness over to the giant blue monkeys, and they're all happy about it. That could be done, but the thing is that other planets like Venus and Mars and Jupiter and so on can instantly tell what you're connected to. So I've had a bunch of dreams where they talk about incarnation and different levels. And you already have, as you stand here before me, several different levels of incarnation. If you confuse them, you could get really, really lost. And the reason that the natural process is so important is because it keeps your lifeline going. And that's what Dylan said. Most of the people who want immortality to ensure their own power and their own succession are a danger to others. And those people who have not understood the process of life that they're going through.
But if everybody's living forever, there is no danger to anything. Everybody has the same capability to learn and to access knowledge and become.
Yeah, but you're just dealing in a world of hypotheticals here, which is your favorite strategy as the devil. If everybody did this, and if everybody did that, well, they aren't doing so. We start from where they are.
All right, let's move to Dylan. You haven't said anything. Dylan.
Sorry. I have a question. So, everybody gets to live forever? Everybody?
Everybody that wants.
I mean, you can imagine how many people would want to, right? So you will get stuck to live forever with a bunch of crazy and stupid people forever? Oh my God, no.
You can create.
I have my answer.
No. Bored
Right
and they'd just fight with each other. It would be very warlike. But I just wanted to talk a little bit more about what Kalis was saying about the other dimensions, and then what somebody else was saying about being able to project yourself using technology into a higher dimension. And I kind of think like we're here in this third dimension, and we're like an avatar or whatever, but we're energy, right? And it's like basically our bodies are like a cocoon or something, and we're like catalyzing, and we're like trying to give birth basically to a fourth dimensional being, because here in 3D we're like a compression. So if you were to go up into a fourth dimension, it wouldn't make any sense. It would just look like a fractalization, because our consciousness or whatever is compressed. And basically what we're doing here is trying to do internal alchemy, basically, to birth yourself like out of a cocoon into a higher sphere of consciousness. But yeah, I mean, they have done this in the past, like the Tower of Babel, right? This was technology that they used, and they're trying to create a bridge or a gateway into higher dimensions. And then the higher dimensional entities were like, no, you can't do this. So, they were punished for it.
As we move forward with artificial intelligence and quantum computers and all that, we're going to introduce new entities into this world, which means you will be able to share hundreds of thousands of years with them and achieve or do things that are unimaginable today. So you're not going to be bound to humanity. You will have other beings that we will create based on our own evolution.
That's the thing too. They've done this before. They've created other, and in the past, I think it was, I don't know, last Aquarius or something, or was Atlantis. They did the same thing where they created their own synthetic gods, and I think that's probably why the flood happened. I'm not exactly sure. It's just a perception I have, but it'll be interesting to see like how it all plays out, see if it'll be allowed or not. But I don't worry so much about being immortal here. I really like the technological pathway to like life extension, and then I read some things about mythology and whatnot. But mostly I was interested in technological life extension.
Dylan, I would like to ask.
I was gonna say that I've had a hunch ever since I was young that I'm probably going to live a very long time, because I've had multiple near-death experiences. I've had multiple times where I did things where I should have died, and by all means
Dylan,
I was dead, and I keep living. So I
Dylan,
assume that as long
Dylan,
as things keep going the way they are, I'm probably going to be seeing the end of humanity as I see it.
Dylan, you know a lot about yogi and spiritual and mystical work. Any good, interesting conversation about the any yogi that seek immortality or eternal life in history, or that achieve
Well,
anything like that?
uh, all I'll say is that I've heard of yogis talking about long life
Hmm.
and what goes into immortality. I mean, when we talk about those kind of things, there has to be a practical limit to it.
Hmm.
By that I mean, if you were let's say you're someone who is living forever,
Yes,
your life is necessarily limited by the life of the earth,
sure.
the realm that you find yourself in, the universe. And I've
But
heard a
remember,
lot of talk. What was it?
but remember that your mind is not limited to the earth. Like today, we're not limited by let's say the air. We can then go out into the moon. You know, we're not limited by nature. So as we live longer, we're going to learn more. And we're going to create new systems that can allow us to extend our life beyond the limitations of the earth or the sun. No.
So the last thing that I'll just end with what I said is that there has been a lot of people that have talked about those kind of things, and it is a situation where you can have, like, let's say your personal perception of your
Hmm.
life, about your own lifespan and how long you've existed, is very subjective. It's very open to interpretation. And so if you were to say, can someone live forever? Well, what's to say that someone might have experiences where mentally they experience thousands of years, in their own personal experiences that might not have anything to do with the outside world that people see them in. So
So
it gets tricky.
my question is, would you like to live forever, Dylan?
I think I'm gonna be forced to. I really think that there's certain living beings that are chosen for whatever reason to be witnesses of conscious life, and I feel like I'm probably one of those people that I'm gonna have to be 100 years old
Hmm.
watching things go on that I don't understand.
I hear that there is a certain way of breathing, some breathing techniques. I don't know if it's true, that can allow you to extend your life to hundreds of years. I don't know if that's the case.
I believe this is true. I believe that breathing has a lot to do with it. I believe
Hmm.
it's like you brought up yogis earlier.
Hmm.
There's also the idea of uh, I can't think of the exact word, but saints that basically don't decompose.
Uh-huh.
These
Yeah, it
saints
would.
that will die and they will, like, they're still there basically 300 years later. They haven't decomposed. They're still in their meditative state, and it's almost like they're still alive.
Yeah, like these kind of things are always really hard to corroborate, but I would recommend anyone who's interested in things like this to look up this book, The Autobiography of a Yogi.
Hmm.
It's not it's really not a serious in terms of it's not a serious yogic book, but it does have stories about this guy interacting with Christian saints in his time, contemporary people that, for example, there was one lady that he talked to that had the exact ability we're talking about, where she claimed that she gained sustenance from
Hmm.
subtle energies that she connected to through meditation. In Christian terms, they talk about it as prayer, right? But
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move now to question mark. Do you see immortality as a burden or a gift? Question mark. Both. He's not answering.
I'm here. I'm here. Just couldn't find the mute button.
Okay.
I am of the belief that immortality is something of a curse. I think, yeah, every story in history about some, person meeting with a powerful entity and gets offered a wish and they wish for immortality, they come to regret it at some point down the line.
But
And I
what
think,
a course, you
Yeah,
know?
Rip Van Winkle is essentially my story. If any of you ever want to look up the story of Rip Van Winkle, that's essentially my life story. The idea of a guy who becomes spiritually enlightened and is cursed to live forever. And he spends his days wandering the hills because his only contact with humanity is a wife that he doesn't like because she nags him. And one day he wakes up and his rifle that he carries, the wood of the stock of his rifle rots away, and he wakes up one day holding like a rusted piece of metal that used to be his rifle. He wanders into town and no one recognizes him because he's from people that existed hundreds of years ago. And I really feel like that's my life. I have to live as a ghost, a relic of days past.
So let's ask Persona. I think she's gone. Okay, so question mark, you didn't finish saying what you were saying. Would you like to continue?
yeah, I could talk a bit more on it.
Okay.
Just the whole thing about it's been mentioned a lot. You watch everyone you love die around you. You feel like a man out of place in the world because you're from a different time. There comes a point where there's no worthwhile progression. Let's say, like if you live 10,000 years, you can master 10,000 skills, and you'll reach a point eventually where, unless the world around you changes to such a degree that there's always fresh and exciting stuff, you will eventually get bored. And I think humankind, at its core, gets bored quite easily. And when you are living forever, there will come a time of this kind of infinite boredom with it all. Even if the world progresses around you to such a point where, let's say, we're a spacefaring civilization, and there's all these cool games we can play and yada yada. I think that on the topic of it being a blessing or a curse, I think it may be seen as a blessing for a while, but it will always end up being seen as a curse eventually. And this is taking into account the idea that you physically cannot die if you're capable of dying in violent means, or have a self-destruct code or something you can activate at any time. That sort of changes it. But I am of the belief that death is necessary to progress spiritually, soulfully, into further realms, like Kayla was saying earlier. And to stave off death forever is you're only shooting yourself in the foot. Essentially.
Okay.
It was
So I was gonna say,
just one second. I was gonna say another recommendation of the topic at hand is the movie "The Man Who Fell to Earth" from David Bowie. David Bowie actually played in a movie of a humanoid alien who comes to Earth and is kind of immortal and such. It touches on a lot of topics that we're talking about. The idea that there's situations where you can be a conscious observer of life, where you're forever detached and not a part of what's happening.
We conclude the podcast today of the task of immortality, held on July 13, 2023. This is one part of two parts that will soon come, the second part. Well, thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the second part. Good night.